Then Allah Azza wa Jal now comes to the point. You see, there were two warnings, right? كَلَّا سَيَعْلَمُونَ ثُمَّ كَلَّا سَيَعْلَمُونَ. There were two of them. The first one was for the day of judgment. That is, إِنَّ يَوْمَ الْفَصْلِ كَانَ مِيقَاتًا يَوْمَ يُنْفَخُ فِي الصُّورِ فَتَأْتُونَ أَفْوَاجًا وَفُتِحَتِ السَّمَاءُ فَكَانَتْ أَبْوَابًا وَسُيِّرَتِ الْجِبَالُ فَكَانَتْ سَرَابًا. Now all of this was the first كَلَّا سَيَعْلَمُونَ الْقِيَامَةِ يَوْمَ الْفَصْلِ. What's the second كَلَّا سَيَعْلَمُونَ? Soon they're going to find out again. This is Jahannam. This is the second time they're going to find out. So Qiyamah and then An-Nar. Now we go forward, we find the next depiction. Inna Jahannama kanat mirsada. No doubt the hellfire has always been waiting in ambush. Mirsad, there's another word that's related to it, marsad. This comes from rasaba in Arabic. Rasada yasudu, like nasara yansuru. This refers to the one who is trying to ambush. Like in Surah At-Tawbah we find وَقَعَدُوا لَهُمْ كُلَّ مَرْصَدٍ. Sit there waiting for them in any place you can find to try to ambush them. Meaning a place you hide where you want to try and attack somebody. That's marsad. Mirsad, which is a different word, is a place ideal for ambush. Meaning it's designed with the only intent to hide and attack the enemy. Allah describes the hellfire as a place that's been hiding and waiting to attack. That's how it's been described. كَانَتْ مِرْصَادًا. And one of the tafsir of this ayah, like for example, we find Hasan al-Basri, rahimahullah, using this ayah to explain وَإِن مِّنكُمْ إِلَّا وَالِدُهَا. Surah Maryam, Allah Azza wa Jalla says, there's no one from you at all except that they will go over it. They will pass over it, meaning they will pass over the hellfire. That bridge, as-sirat, that we're going to pass, so we will get to experience or at least witness what we have escaped. Inshallah ta'ala, when Allah, by His mercy, He enters us into His paradise. Anyhow, so now, Inna Jahannama kanat mirsada, it's waiting to ambush. Now for the believers, they'll be able to pass by, but for the disbelievers, it will ambush them and it will grab them. So Inna Jahannama kanat mirsada. Then, who is it in ambush for? لِلطَّاغِينَ مَآبًا. It is in ambush for al-taghin. Allah didn't say here al-kafirin or al-mushrikeen. So many other words could have been al-zalimin, al-fasiqeen. Specifically the word used here is al-taghin. Because this is not talking about the kufr is the outside. What's on the inside? It's tughyan. It's rebellion. I want to do what I want to do. On the outside, even the philosophy major or the professor or whoever, that the people are atheists or whoever, they don't want to acknowledge God or Islam or whatever it may be, not because they have some intellectual arguments. In the heart of the matter, it is they want to live the life the way they want to live them. They don't want to accept a higher authority. In other words, they want to rebel against any higher authority. That's the root of this whole problem. It isn't really that they're curious about NABA'A al-Azim. It began عَمَّا يَتَسَاءَلُونَ عَنِ النَّبَأِ الْعَظِيمِ. Why are they asking? Not because they're curious, because of their tughyan, because of their rebellion. So Allah says this ambush of the hellfire, it's waiting in ambush for who? For the rebellious. And then He says ma'aba, a place that they will have to keep going back to. Meaning it illustrates they're going to try to escape and it keeps sucking them back in. لِلطَّاغِينَ مَآبًا, a place where you come back to rest. You can't get away from it. May Allah Azza wa Jalla protect us from His hellfire. The word ma'ab is a masdar and it's also a dharf, which means it's a place of stay and it's also stay itself. This is how it's been defined. لَابِثِينَ فِيهَا أَحْقَابًا. This is a very important ayah, in which there's some confusion which we have to inshallah ta'ala clarify. لَبِثَ يَلْبَثُ لَبْثٌ لَبَاثٌ لَبَاثَةٌ. These words are used to stay somewhere a very long time. So at-taghin sayakunu labithin, they're going to be staying there for a very, very long period of time. And then that long period of time has been given a quantity. This is ahqaba. Ahqaba is the plural of haqb. Haqb, according to Ali radiallahu anhu, for example, there are many opinions. The most popular one is the one of Ali radiallahu anhu, that a haqb is 80 years. A haqb is 80 years, every day of which is 1,000 years. So it's 80 years, every day of which is 1,000 years. Qatada radiallahu anhu has a different opinion. Regardless, even if it's 80 years and every day is 1,000 years, is that infinite or finite? In the end, that's finite, right? So it led some mufassirun to argue, and this has been negated thoroughly, that the hellfire in the end will end. It won't be there the whole time. Or in the end, it's only this long, at least there's some hope, right? But actually, Hasan al-Basri rahimahullah commented that Allah didn't say haqban, He said ahqaban. Haqban would have been one set of 80 years, every day of which is 1,000 years. But Allah said ahqaban, which means they are multiple. And the tafsir of this is coming in the next ayah. We'll put the two together. So he says the jama', the plural, illustrates that there's no end to it. When you finish one haqab, what happens? The next haqab begins. When you finish the second one, the next one begins, and so on and so forth. And it's an endless series of plurals. So it's actually illustrating hopelessness. The kafir would think, I have spent an entire haqab, maybe I'm done. As soon as that false hope takes over him, the next haqab begins. And so it's actually a means of torture that Allah Azza wa Jalla mentioned, haqab, a means of psychological torture. By just saying abadan, which he says in other places, that's forever and ever. But you know, again, I give you the example of a child, when the child is put in detention for 10 minutes, but the teacher actually knows it's 20 minutes. He is so hopeful with those 10 minutes. When he gets to that 10th minute and he's told there's another 10 minutes, those 10 minutes don't seem like 10 minutes. They seem like hours and hours and hours. They seem like forever, right? That's the psychological torture of a prisoner. That they're being given at least the hope that the haqab is over, yet another one is about to begin. And how do we know this? The proof is in the text itself. Allah Azza wa Jalla says, فَذُوقُوا فَلَنْ نَزِيدَكُمْ إِلَّا عَذَابًا is coming. That's the ayah, that's the proof. Allah says, then taste, we will not increase in it for you except anything but punishment. That's actually the toughest or the harshest ayah against the people of hellfire in the entire Quran. When we get to it, we'll talk about that. Now we speak of the two kinds of torture that Allah highlights in this surah. لَا يَذُوقُونَ فِيهَا بَرْدًا وَلَا شَرَابًا. They will not get to taste in it neither coolness, وَلَا شَرَابًا, nor any kind of drink. You know, Allah speaks in the Quran of the least punishment in the hellfire when He says, وَلَئِن مَسَّتْهُمْ نَفْحَةٌ مِنْ عَذَابِ رَبِّكَ. Even if a little whiff of the punishment of your Lord touched them, the word He used was nafha. Nafha. In Arabic, there's the word nafha with noon and lafha with lam. There are two words, right? Lafha is a warm breeze, and nafha with noon is a cool breeze. So Allah says, even if the coolest breeze of hellfire touched them, even that is so hot. So, لَيَقُولُنَّ إِنَّا كُنَّا ظَالِمِينَ. يَا وَيْلَنَا إِنَّا كُنَّا ظَالِمِينَ. They will cry out over and over again, destruction has fallen upon us. We have been the wrongdoers. We had been continuously the wrongdoers. So here Allah says they will taste no such thing as coolness, وَلَا شَرَابًا, nor any drink. And by the way, again, keep in mind in desert life, what are the two things you aspire towards? You aspire towards coolness and towards a drink. These are the means these are the joys of desert life. You know, the expression in the Arabic language, قَرَّتْ عَيْنُهُ, his eyes became cool, is used when you pass through the desert. It's so hot that your eyes are burning, and finally the sandstorm is over, the heat is gone, then you say, my eyes became cool. Right? That's the same expression Allah uses in Quran for our spouses and our children. Right? رَبَّنَا هَبْ لَنَا مِنْ أَزْوَاجِنَا وَذُرِّيَّاتِنَا قُرَّةَ أَعْيُنٍ. The coolness of our eyes. So coolness in Arabic culture is a great pleasure. So Allah takes that pleasure away. وَشَرَابًا and وَلَا شَرَابًا, nor any kind of drink. Then He adds only two more things. إِلَّا حَمِيمًا وَغَسَّاقًا. And these two things are in response to bardan wala sharaban. Instead of having coolness, they will have boiling water poured on them. So this is in response, instead of getting cooler, they're getting scorched, literally. Hamim. Then for drink, instead of drink, وَغَسَّاقًا. Ghassaq is pus, or infected blood. Of the other torture, the other companions of the hellfire that are being tortured and bleeding, they're boiling pus and their infected pus, that's the only thing they will get to drink. SubhanAllah, may Allah protect us from the hellfire. And at the end of all of this, subhanahu wa ta'ala, it seems, if you describe this to a disbeliever, they'll say, man, your religion's got a lot of torture, man. This is some serious stuff. This is pretty intense. Really, people really deserve this? Look at the next word. Jaza'an wifaqa. Jaza means payback. Jaza means payback. And jaza in it already includes the meaning of you get what you worked for. It's already, complete. But then Allah adds the word wifaq. Wifaq is the masdar of wafaqa. Now the idea, sometimes the masdar, the infinitive, is used in the place of an ism fa'il. So what we were expecting were the words جَزَاءً مُوَافِقٌ. That's what we were expecting. That's what the normal Arabic would expect. When you say wifaq, what that illustrates is there could be no more suited, perfectly placed, appropriate punishment than this. Meaning the things that these people did, this is exactly down to the last ounce. This is exactly what they deserve, not a bit more, not a bit less. جَزَاءً وِفَاقًا. And then, the kafir will come to his mind. What is it that I've done that's so bad that I deserve this? And Allah is saying perfectly this much. This is exactly what you deserve. There's no exaggerated punishment. There's no torture. There's no oppression. This is justice. This is exactly what you deserve. What is it that I did wrong? إِنَّهُمْ كَانُوا لَا يَرْجُونَ حِسَابًا. Now this is actually coming as it's opening up the subject. These were no doubt the people. They had been the ones, they had no expectations, they had no hopes in hisab, in accountability. They had no hopes of accountability. Now the wording is very careful. Allah Azza wa Jal did not speak here of these people were expecting, right? يَتَوَقَّعُونَ. They had tawaqqa' of hisab. They were expecting. No, they didn't hope for hisab. There's a difference. When you don't expect it, that means you didn't have any idea. When you don't hope for it, it means you heard about it, you knew it's coming, or you had a feeling it's coming, but you were very hopeful that I hope it doesn't happen like that. And you let your false hopes delude you. This is what Allah says, وَيُلْهِهِمُ الْأَمَلِ. Right? Let their false hopes delude them. Their false hopes were, hopefully this hisab, this accountability, all of my deeds being put in front of me, hopefully this will not happen. And you will find this attitude today, sadly enough, even among some Muslims. Perhaps even within your family, that you try to talk to them about accountability. We will have to answer Allah for the things we say, for the things we do, for the way we treat one another, for the kinds of monies we earn, for the kinds of monies we spend. We're going to have to answer Allah. And they say, come on, you're depressing me. I don't want to talk about this. Let's talk about something else. Right? Their hopes are being challenged. So they want to stay in their false hopes. They want to stay in their false hopes. This happened to the people of the book before us. تِلْكَ أَمَانِيُّهُمْ, Allah says. These are their wishful thoughts. So here again, إِنَّهُمْ كَانُوا يَرْجُونَ حِسَابًا. This is their first crime. This crime was on the inside. In their head, in their heart, they weren't hoping for any kind of recompense. But then that false hope led them to do something on the outside. وَكَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا كِذَّابًا. So there's the inside of the kafir and the outside of the kafir in two ayat. The inside of the kafir is إِنَّهُمْ كَانُوا لَا يَرْجُونَ حِسَابًا. The outside is وَكَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا كِذَّابًا. They lied against our ayat. This means many things. First of all, they lied themselves. Second, they lied against the miraculous ayat of Allah. They lied against our miraculous revelation. They lied against our miraculous signs. The ayat of Allah are of two kinds. Ayat kawniyah and ayat Qur'aniyah, right? So the ayat kawniyah that he's talking about, the mountains, the earth, your own spouses, the fact that we're created in pairs, the night which we can't avoid our sleep. These are the ayat in our existence. And then there are the ayat of Qur'an. This person refused to reflect on either of them. They refused to reflect on either of them. So now وَكَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا كِذَّابًا. By the way, the word كِذَّاب is a masdar, and another infinitive that is associated with it is takdeeb. Right? بَلِ الَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا فِي تَكْذِيب. Here we find though كِذَّاب. The difference between them is كِذَّاب is worse. كِذَّاب is worse than takdeeb. And if you look at the context of this surah versus that surah, the people described here are much worse. So this word is used here instead. Anyway, وَكَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا كِذَّابًا. They profusely and continuously lied against our ayat. It includes lying against the messengers, lying against the truth, lying against someone or belying someone that is speaking the truth. When you try to character assassinate someone when they're telling the truth, this is also takdeeb. That you're not denying what they're saying, but you insult them instead. And this is what many of the kuffar did against the messengers, alayhimus salam. They didn't have any arguments in response to the truth, so they would insult the messengers instead. Hopefully that will end the argument. Then Allah Azza wa Jalla says, وَكُلَّ شَيْءٍ أَحْصَيْنَاهُ كِتَابًا. This is against their false hopes. they were hoping there won't be any hisab. Speaking of hisab, Allah says, وَكُلَّ شَيْءٍ أَحْصَيْنَاهُ كِتَابًا. And when it comes to each and everything, كُلَّ شَيْء is مفعول به, and it's muqaddam, it's brought earlier for ta'ajjub, for shock. Don't be surprised. Each and every last thing we have completely encompassed. أحصينا. Ihsa in Arabic, in modern Arabic it means to count, right? Like adada, also to count. But there's a difference between ad and ihsa. And the difference is ihsa is to count something and to protect it also, to archive it and to save it and to completely have protection over it. Meaning you're not going to lose your data. The accountant can count and do the books, and then the books could get burned, or the hard drive could crash or something. But ihsa is not only did you count it, but it's also protected. Allah says, وَكُلَّ شَيْءٍ أَحْصَيْنَاهُ. We've counted it and protected. Al-'adl wal-hifz أيضا, both at the same time. Kitaba, in a record, in a written document. فَذُوقُوا. This is the ayah that is considered هذه الآية أشد آية في القرآن على أهل النار كلما استغاثوا من نوع عذاب أغيثوا بأشد منه. This is Allah's, the scholars comment, this is the ayah that is the worst ayah of adab. This is the one we're about to talk about. Every time they try to get out of the punishment, they are entered into a one that is worse than the one they came out of. And this is what is mentioned here. Anyhow, فَذُوقُوا. Allah says, then go ahead and taste. Go ahead and taste. Now if you look, if the ayat before, كَذَّبُوا بِآيَاتِنَا كِذَّابًا. They lied against. Third person, right? It was ba'id, it was far away. All of a sudden, فَذُوقُوا. Then as a result, all of you taste. This is you, not they, but you. Again, this is coming closer. The principle here is al-intifat shahid ala shiddat al-ghadab. That this transition from third person to second person, it illustrates how intense the anger of Allah is, that He's actually, having this spoken to them. But here, one of the things is, Allah Azza wa Jalla did not say, فَقَالَ رَبُّهُمْ لَهُمْ. Their Lord said to them. أو قال الله لهم. Allah said to them. أو يقول الله. Allah will say to them. Allah does not mention His name next to them. Allah does not mention His name next to the people of the hellfire. And this is so because in many other places in the Quran you will find قِيلَ. It was said to them. Or it will be said to them. Allah does not even turn towards them. وَلَا يَنْظُرُ إِلَيْهِمْ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ وَلَا يُزَكِّيهِمْ وَلَا يُكَلِّمُهُمُ اللَّهُ. Allah says also. Allah will not talk to them directly. So they will be told this. But according to other excerpts from the Quran, we learn that on the day of resurrection, Allah will not address them. Allah will not address them directly. This is part of their punishment, that Allah won't even turn towards them. May Allah protect us from the hellfire. فَذُوقُوا فَلَنْ نَزِيدَكُمْ إِلَّا عَذَابًا. Then go ahead and taste. And then, thus we will not increase you. As a result, we are not going to increase you in anything except further punishment. فَلَنْ نَزِيدَكُمْ إِلَّا عَذَابًا. What will they be begging for? They'll be begging for some bard, some sharab, some coolness, a little bit of relief, a little bit of drink. But Allah says the only thing that will be increased for you is further punishment, worse than the one that was there before.